Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so thankful that you're here for our session today. You should be able to hear me, so I'll just give you a moment if you need to adjust your audio on your device. I am Amanda Pritchard. I am the Events and Outreach Specialist in OIT. I've just posted a few comments in the live event Q&A, which you should be able to see on the right side of your screen. It shows a little question mark. So if you'll take just a moment and answer those by liking the post if it is something that you're familiar with, or I post if you regularly plan events, that just kind of helps me to understand who the audience is. I did receive a list of names, but that doesn't tell me a lot about what you do or what your experiences are. So if you could just help me there. Right now, we've got about 51 people signed in and watching. So thank you all for your attention and for giving us just a minute. We had a couple that were having a few issues logging in. So now that they're able to join us, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm typically the events person in my department. So I see we've got about 22 people that liked the post that they regularly do events in their area. That's me in my area. So I'm not typically the technical person. I'm typically the event person. It's my role. I do the planning and the marketing for events. And lately, I've been training myself on Teams Live so that I can pivot to hosting virtual events while we're practicing social distancing. I'm hosting these sessions in the hopes that my self-training and my research will provide you some insight and save you some mistakes. And also to save you some time from having to research this all on your own. I do have somebody helping me run my slides today, so shout out to Cynthia for being willing to support me so I'm not doing too much multitasking on my own. So just a couple of quick points. I do see a couple of posts saying that they're having issues seeing the screen. Hopefully that's not everyone. If that is an issue that's going on, you may want to try closing out and joining back in. Okay, Cynthia, next slide, please. So Teams live events are different than Teams meetings in that you can reach a larger audience. You're able to reach up to 10,000 people in a Teams live presentation. So you do have one presenter at a time on screen sharing their information. It's going to be a similar layout to what I'm doing now because I'm using Teams Live currently to share this with you. So in a Teams Live production, the audience is muted. So I can't hear you unless you interact through that live event Q&A, which is why I wanted you to be familiar with it. I do want you to have a voice and be able to communicate with me should something arise. There's also no video feed on behalf of the attendees, so I can't see you like I could in a regular team meeting. So just one moment. Having a little computer issue there. Okay, I think I've got it back. So Teams Live events also have several analytics that you can run after the event. So you'll be able to know who attended, how long they were there. You'll be able to download the Q&A list, and you'll be able to get a full attendee engagement report. So not only who was there, but what their emails are, and just a lot of really good analytics that you can take back to your department to share. So those are a few differences on Teams Live versus a Teams meeting. Cynthia, next slide, please. Our first video covered how to schedule a Teams live meeting. So if you missed that session or you just want to review it, we do have it listed on our YouTube page. I'll go ahead and post. I've got the link right here. I'll post that in the announcements just in case you want to bookmark it or go back to that as a reference later. I'm not going to go over scheduling an event again since we have that covered, but you can if you know, I know there are several people that are on now that weren't on that first session that may want that as a reference. So in the interest of time, we're just going to focus on today's topic, which is we'll cover how to prepare you for a live event, selecting the roles, communicating the best practices to presenters and what to accomplish during your dry run. I am at the end going to attempt to do a demo here. It is a little tricky, and if you've done a live event, you'll see that and you'll know why. But this session today is also going to be recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel shortly after it's finished, after I have some time to edit it. I will be emailing out the slides that you're seeing in this presentation. So if you're missing something or you want to go back and review it, you will have access to that. I'm going to pause one moment and check. I see we've gotten a couple of comments. Lisa was having trouble hearing, so I'm going to respond to her. And I'm sorry, I am multitasking still today. If you saw me in my first session, you'll know it takes several people to run this. So let's see. Okay, and so Beverly asked, is it being recorded? Yes, it is, and I'll make sure you all get that. All right. So Cynthia, next slide, please. So I did want to point out, in addition to the YouTube, there's these additional guides that I've put together with just quick how-to information on Teams and Teams Live in case you want to bookmark that page as you move forward with planning your events. They reinforce a lot of the information that I'm sharing with you today. I realize that a lot of people prefer having these sessions and getting to see it in person. But I'll go ahead and share that with you just so that you have that as a reference too, if you want to read up or follow up on anything that I've mentioned. So live events are a little bit more complicated than just clicking join the meeting, but that doesn't mean that live events have to be complicated. You just need to be sure you plan for the proper support to staff your event. So next slide. Before we go into the very specific roles, I do want to make a key note to you all. I have created some names that Microsoft does not have, and that is because there are some unique features and instances to UT Dallas and to how we do events that aren't necessarily what Microsoft had in mind when it was designing this platform. So after working with multiple offices, including the President's Office and the Office of Research, we came together with these specific roles to make your event quite seamless and just work a little easier. Now that said, your event is your event, and everyone is different. Every department has different intentions and different expectations. So here are my suggestions. And again, you'll need to develop your event based on your area's unique needs and your area's unique goals. So with that disclaimer, the first one that I have is organizer. The organizer is typically an admin or somebody in the area that would set up that event for you. They will be the ones to schedule it. They would be the ones to send out those invitations to the attendees. They would send out the marketing materials on your behalf. The producer is probably the most important role in figuring out, because that's the person that's going to know how to do the ins and outs. So the producer will control the live event, and they're the ones that make sure the correct content is up. I will show you the screens later so you understand what that means when I'm saying they put people on and off the screen. It's kind of something you have to see, but I swear it's just a matter of clicking on and off. So the producers will have a live view of the number of people attending the event, but not who is attending the event. You won't see that until after the event is over and you run a report. So the assistant producer or slide producer, that is one of the terminologies that I created because I do feel like it's important to have multiple producers participating. Here's one instance is if you're working on one screen, as opposed to multiple screens. I have 4 in front of me, but if you are a person that works with one screen, when you're producing, the slides take up that whole screen. So Cynthia right now is behind the scenes doing my slides for me, and she's doing amazing. It takes up her whole screen, so she's not able to see your comments. She's not able to see me, which is why I say next. Don't do it yet, Cynthia. why I say that, just so that she gets that verbal cue of when to move back and forth. So it is really important to have more than one producer. Another reason is that the producer, this whole presentation runs through my network, my internet, and if something were to happen to mine, Cynthia gets to go on screen. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't tell her that. She's in a panic, I'm sure. But if something happens to mine, we have her as a backup to at least hold up the meeting until I get back on. Okay. For presenters, the presenter is the person providing the lecture, the person that's actually in front of the screen talking. So right now that would be me. And you can have up to 9 presenters on their video feed kind of in the queue for your live event. You can have more than 9. You just can't have 9 with their videos on at a time. And if you did, it just gets a little bit kind of clunky behind the scenes if you have that many people to pull on and off. So every presenter can share their own audio. They could share their own video, like I'm doing. So you can determine if you want somebody to be on camera or if you just want them to talk and to be able to lecture in that fashion. The moderator is the person that would be answering the live Q&A, which I'm also doing. So thank y'all for your patience. But if you do have questions, feel free to post them. It just may take me a second and I might need to come to a natural pause before I answer them. But that's what that moderator does. Typically, that's something that is done behind the scenes. So you can determine if you want these comments published or if you want them dismissed or hidden. So for those of you that maybe don't see your comment because you're having technical issues, I didn't publish that to everybody. I chose just to respond to you individually. The attendee is the final role, and that is one of Microsoft's terms. The attendee is the person that's viewing. So for today, that would be you in the audience. And so they can be external, somebody outside of UT Dallas, or they can be internal. You set that up when you're setting up the meeting, depending on who you want to attend. So if you're just looking for UT Dallas, it would be organization-wide, but you could make your event public if you're having donors or outside people attending. Attendees can only participate in that Q&A, like I explained a little earlier. That is your voice, that is your method of interacting. So they can join the event during with a link that you would email out, and they can view it either on their mobile device or on a website or the Teams app if they have it. It doesn't require you to download the app if you're just an attendee. So I've thrown a lot of information at you just there with the different roles, their features and functions. So I do just want to take a moment. If you do have a question, please feel free to type it in that chat box and I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, I'm going to just think that you understand me and that I make sense. Okay, Cynthia, if you'll go to the next slide, please. So the next topic that I wanted to touch on real quick is just presenter best practices. In a live event, it's important to have a couple of things set up just behind the scenes so that you know that the presenters are going to be at their absolute best. One of those is having a headset. So if you can see, you may or may not be able to see mine, this little black device that's around my neck and it's in my ears. It's a wireless headset with a built-in microphone, so that allows me to speak to you, hopefully having good audio. Hopefully y'all are all having a good experience. But that's the best level of audio that you're going to get. So if you have a speaker, especially if you're a UTD person, then you would want to request a headset. I know OIT is working on getting some of those out, especially for events. There is a priority list and a wait list, but moving to our new phone systems, we are going to have headsets available. Okay, so I'm seeing some chatter. I'm going to go and look at these. Okay, Marie asked, how many roles can you do at one time? I don't know if you're talking to me or to just in general at the event. So right now I am the producer, I am the organizer, I am the moderator, and I'm the presenter. So I guess you can do a lot at once if you can stay sane doing that. Verdict's still out on me, so we'll see. I don't recommend doing this for an actual presentation. You can have overlapping roles. So you may be presenting a presentation and you need to present to do the introduction, and then you need to produce the rest of the people going on and off screen. You can absolutely do that. And like I said, you can modify my list to suit your event's needs. And each situation is going to be unique. So Sabrina asked, does the organizer have to set up in advance the ability of attendees to ask Q&A in the chat anonymously? The anonymous chat is just part of the chat feature, so that comes, it's just synchronized in that Q&A. But yes, if you want Q&A to be a part of your event, then you do need to set that up, and that's part of the scheduling. And if you didn't see that first video, that is part of the scheduling. You can go back and watch that training. Okay, Kelly asked, how exactly do you set who is the moderator and who's the presenter? So the moderator is my term. So that's something when you're planning your event, you would designate that role and say, okay, Amanda's presenting, John, whoever, you know so much about Teams Live. We want you on the call answering those questions for us. I know, like HR Forum, if you've been to one of those, they have it executed just perfectly where they have one person that's just typing those answers as they come up. So typically it's somebody in your department with a knowledge of whatever is being presented that could answer those questions. And how do you set up who's the presenter? That's just whoever is going to be talking, whoever you want in front of a screen. And let's see, Cindy asked, what does a non-UTD person need to do in order to be a presenter if they don't have or use Teams? Oh, Cindy, that's a whole nother bag of worms. So we probably could go and do a presentation just on external presenters, but I'm gonna give you the quick overview, Cindy, is that they needed to be added to a Teams channel. Anyone has the power to do that. So you don't have to open an OIT ticket. You can do that on your own. You would just add their email to your Teams channel. They then would need to go in, and I've got some guides. I'll make a note. I'm gonna send those out to you guys after this meeting as well. That talks to you from an external presenter side of how to set up Teams, because they do have to be added. Even if they have it on another device, they have to be added to the UT Dallas tenant. So there's just a few more steps. But the main step that we do on the UT Dallas side, or that you would do if you're hosting it, is you would add them to a Teams channel. Then they need to download the app and they need to be able to log in and authenticate. And that's where honestly we found the most issues is people don't remember their password. I can relate to that, but that's where we've run into some complications with them logging onto Teams, is that they don't remember their password to get in. So Cindy, I hope that clarified. I do have 2 guides that I can send out to everyone, because external presenters do add a little bit of a layer of complication. Again, it doesn't have to be hard, but it's a little bit more work getting someone external than just typing in a UT Dallas email address. Okay, hopefully that answered that one. Okay, so going back to presenter best practices. So we talked about headset. The next step is do not disturb. My kids made me write this in there to make sure you silence your phones, children, and pets, because we've experienced that a few times where it didn't always stay silent. You do have a do not disturb setting in Teams, so you could turn that on. Mine's on now, so if you were to try to chat with me, I would not get any chat notifications. And then you close out of Outlook, because you don't want to be responding to emails or looking at another crisis that's going on while you're trying to present. Let's see. So I'm going to go, Kelly, I see your question. Just one moment. And then the last thing for your presenter best practices are that you want to, there's an internal chat in Teams Live. So if Cynthia and I were wanting to chat, she and I could talk back and forth to each other or send each other a message. And so that's what you would use to communicate with your presenters, because if they were to get on mic, then the entire audience would be able to hear them. So that's not really a great experience for the audience. So you do a lot of that interaction through that internal chat. You could say, hey, John, you're up next. Get ready, make sure your microphone is unmuted, that sort of thing. So when you're setting up a meeting, it's very important to go over these features with your presenters, just so that they can be aware on how they can be at their best in presenting. Okay, Kelly, you asked, is the moderator for this meeting actually logged in as the moderator? No. So Microsoft Teams, just as a point of clarification, Microsoft identifies 3 roles when you're setting up a meeting. You can select the producer, the one that's running the show. You can select the presenter, the person that's speaking, and then the attendee is a separate link that you send down to an individual. So that's the 3 roles that's their language that they use. I have used I've created that lingo, or just used it from other meetings as moderator. So no, it's not something you actually select as a moderator. That's a great clarification point, Kelly. Thank you for bringing that up. So when you are assigning roles, they would be added as a presenter, and you would tell them that they're there to be a moderator. So I hope that clarifies that. That was excellent, excellent point. Okay, Cynthia, can we do the next slide? So the next piece that I want to talk about is best practices with production and being live in a video. So I don't know if y'all are into memes or not, but I know there's been several that are going around about the improper way to present yourself on a video conference, whether you're looking up at somebody's ceiling or they're backlit with a bright light behind them because they're sitting in front of a window, or whether they're just snacking or whatever. There's a number of things that you can do wrong. And when you're setting up a meeting, it's important just to point out a few of those nicely, just to let the presenters know that there's a couple of ways that they can make themselves look their best. Even if you're not always on screen, I try to consider it as a best practice to just always consider that you're on screen. And there's several core practices that can easily be improved by planning your meeting to be presentation perfect. And it's following these 3 steps. So I'm going to delve a little bit deeper into each one, but you can see kind of at a higher level each one of these factors. So video, you want to ensure your producer has a high quality, reliable internet. You can run a free speed test on your computer just to assess what your internet speed is. Teams says that ideally you want a minimum of 2.5 upload speed. I consider that rather low, and especially since the producer, everything, remember, is going to be running through the producer's internet. So mine at home is between 20 and 30, depending on if the kids are playing their video games. So they've been quarantined outside right now, but you want to have somewhere between that 20 to 30. And then if you consider, I don't know what size events y'all are planning, but the bigger events, and the higher that you're going to want for internet speed. Okay, the bigger that number, the better. It's best to not have everyone on the same network. So if you have 2 producers in the same home, like a husband and wife that both work for UT Dallas, or 2, when we do get to go back in office, 2 back in office, you want to have somebody on a different network. And again, just like I explained a little earlier, if Cynthia's internet, or if my internet were to go off, Cynthia could be my backup in a worst case situation. But if we're both on the same network, then there's no backup. For presentations, a producer, since I'm in a producer role right now, since I'm running all of this, I can't change my background. So you guys get to get a glimpse of my wall, sorry. But a presenter can change their background. So they can make it, you can do the customized UTD ones, you can do whatever you're wanting to do there. But it's best practice to make sure they're in the center of the screen. And you want your camera, mine is stacked on top of a couple of boxes, you want your camera to be eye level, raised to your eyes, so you're not having to look down or look up. So I know those sound silly and petty, but those are just a few things you can do to make your video the best. Audio is one of the most important parts of a great event. Some people may just listen with their browser, or just have a meeting on in the background and never see the slides that you work so diligently on. They may never see your face. So you want to make sure your audio is top notch and they're able to hear it. Then you also want to let people know that there is closed captioning available, as well as live translation in up to 6 languages that can happen. So as I was speaking, you could change it to, Spanish or Chinese or whatever. So for prospective students, for international students, for families that just have, English as a second language. That's an incredible feature in Teams to make sure that they're getting access. Okay. And you do want to have your presenters test their audio before the dry run, just to make sure everything is going smooth and they're not bringing in a lot of background noise. Okay, Melody asked a question. Can we upload a pre-recorded presentation and play during the live event? I will tell you right now, I do not recommend playing videos at all in a live event. I know it would be great because then I could just sit back and just play my video. But the way that it streams, there's a 10 to 15 second delay from what I'm seeing on one screen to me actually live talking to you. And that audio is not going to transfer well in a recording. When we've tested it, it is in no way, it's just not supported in a live event yet. We have been working a lot with Microsoft, and we've been working with them to get new features for y'all every single day. There's new things that come out, so maybe that will be another feature that comes out soon. But I do not recommend playing video in a live event. Okay, Anonymous asked, could one producer sign into the same account on 2 different laptops? I haven't tried it on 2 different laptops. I've tried it on my one laptop and my one browser, but I would think that you can. So I haven't tried that. So that's a great question. But I do have, I've got a separate account too that I've got to show y'all a little bit later. Okay, Marie asked, how do you get the UT Dallas backgrounds for presenters? So that's the same way in Teams meeting. You can set your backgrounds and it should automatically pull up. We've rolled down a whole slew of UTD backgrounds. So that's just automatically, it's the same way you set it up in Teams. You just select your options. I think it's like set desktop. I don't remember exactly what it says, but it's like set background preferences or something to that effect. And you can change your background out and show your school spirit if you're not the producer. So for now, you just look at my wall. Okay, let's see. I think we went over everything with production practices. Any questions there before I move on? Or let's see. Anonymous asked, can a presenter control the slides while talking instead of saying next slide? So yes, I did that during my first training session. Then I got feedback from people saying that they wanted somebody else doing my slides. So I guess I wasn't multitasking as well as I thought I was. Yes, a producer can. We don't make it a practice to have somebody trying to do their slides and talk in the video queue at the same time. It just goes to that old expression, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. There's just too much that can be going on. If you're an incredible speaker, which I cannot credit myself with, I'm usually the planner on the, behind the screen, not in front of it. But if you're a really good speaker, what a lot of them do is they just know what they're going to say, and so they can incorporate that in and just talk about, and next we're going to be discussing. So you don't have to keep saying next. It is possible to run your own slides. It just makes a little layer of complication. So as a rule of thumb, if you're unfamiliar with this software, it just more issues could arise doing it yourself. Okay. So I think that's all the questions we have there, and we'll move on to the next slide. I think we skipped, can you go back one, Cynthia? I think we skipped the dry run. Perfect. So dry run, I've had a lot of people ask, and I just realized we're at 2:30, so I am sorry, I'm talking too much. I'm going to go really quickly through this slide so I can show you behind the scenes. Dry run to-dos. A dry run is just like a dress rehearsal. A lot of people have asked why we do this, and the issue is that there's a lot that could go wrong, or just a lot that people are unfamiliar with. I've had people not understand how to join a Teams live event, how to log on as a producer or presenter versus just versus an attendee, and so people get a little confused. So I recommend a dry run just to do it as a best practice. And oh, Anonymous said, we've done an event and the speaker took a sip of water, which told the person running the slides to move on. Great idea. Okay, well, let's move on then. Cynthia, next, please. So, okay, real quick, I just wanted y'all to see this before I try transitioning over, because the screen's going to look It won't look identical to this. It's going to look a little bit funny. So I'm just going to ask that you bear with me. But just so you can see, I've taken a snapshot of what it looks like in Teams Live. So there's a screen on the left. That is your cue. That's what I tell everybody. That's like you're walking up to the podium. You're not ready to speak. It's the cue. You're about to go on. So generally you add somebody in who's about to present. So while I was waiting to start, I had myself up there in the queue. Then you transition, you would press that bottom button would light up yellow and you would press send live, and that would get it over into the live event and actually make your event go live. So I wanted to show you these two just so that you can kind of see what it looks like, because it's going to look a little different because I am actually in the live event now, but that's what it looks like before you start. So you have the two boxes, and that's what you're pulling people on and off screen, moving people up and down. Okay, Cynthia, next, please. Oh, and then Cindy asked a question. If you have multiple speakers with multiple PowerPoints, what's the best way to allow the moderator, what Cynthia's doing now? Cynthia's actually the slide producer. I know these are my terms, so just bear with me. Switch between them and going from one speaker to the next. General rule of thumb is all of your slides on one slide deck. It's a lot jumping back and forth, and you'll see it here and just after this next slide, because you'll see me jumping back and forth. All the slides need to be in one slide deck to make this seamless, so that the person that's the slide producer just keeps on sharing that one slide, that one PowerPoint presentation. So I know we're past 2:30, so if y'all can hang on. Let's see, Lisa asked, do you have to have everything in the queue before you start? Yes, so absolutely you do. So if you'll see this screenshot, it's showing up as in the queue, or it would have it on the other screen. It show up in the queue, and then it moves over into that live event box. And I do want to point out really quickly, because it's going to look different when I show you my screen. The live event box in this picture that you're looking at is yellow. When you're live, it turns to red. So Cynthia, if you'll stop sharing your screen real quick. We're going to do a few behind the scene things here. So sorry, y'all. Let's see here. This is where you can see that it's really hard to do a live demo and to be able to show you everything. So I'm going to jump from my presentation laptop over to my side laptop. So sorry, you're going to have to look at the profile for a little while, but I'm going to go ahead and do the behind the scenes so you can see what it looks like. So give me just a moment to pull this up, and let's see here. Okay. It's weird because there's a delay, and you're going to see like a million mini-me's traveling down through the live event. So if you can see, it's not the most ideal, but so many people said last time, we want to see it. We want to see it live. Well, you can see when you see it live, you're seeing it shrink down because it's copying the screen so many times. So I know that's a little bit tricky to have that visual there, but what you'll see here is where my mouse is on the far left. It says add video or content below. If you were to be adding any video or content, actually, Melinda, could you turn your camera on if you're here? If you don't mind, I'm putting you on the spot, so you can totally say no. But if you have somebody else on video, you click this box right here, and then you would click their video and then send it live. And then it moves from here, which is what I said, it's kind of like you're queuing up to the podium. Thank you, Melinda. Sorry to put you on the spot. It's a good thing you're having a great hair day, so you're ready to go live on big camera here. So if you saw, I clicked her, and then I clicked from the presenter, and now I'm sending it live, so it's going to go over to the big screen. So Melinda's on the big screen. Yay! And then, okay, now I'm going to go back and click the different content here. And again, it's multiplying those screens. You would not normally see Melinda 2 million times down your screen there. And then I'll go ahead and send that one live too. All right, Melinda, if you you've showed them, so you're welcome to get off camera now. Thank you so much for popping on for that and letting me multitask.
Sure.
So, yeah, so what you normally see would be just kind of the queue and then the live event. It's really difficult to demonstrate it while you are live because it's multiplying that screen. So let me see here. Stop sharing. 1 second. Jumping back and forth. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I see that yes, Melinda's amazing, you guys. If you don't know her, she's fantastic and she's so supportive. So it's great. She's being very patient with me trying to to do all of this at once. Okay, are there any questions about this this kind of preview from you add the content on the left and you would select whoever you're working with here down at the bottom of the screen are your presenters. Oh, I did want to show you one other thing too while we're in here. You can see the Q&A box here. So you can see, hopefully you guys can see that okay. So we can look here and see any new questions that have come in. And poor Cynthia Milligan, she said her screen froze. So you guys can kind of just take a look at those. I can't get to that box there. And you can see where I've answered a few, but these you can choose. Cindy said, top tip, no matter how much you plan your kids not to bother you, the ice cream truck driving through by throws that right out the window. Yes, I know. I feel like if they hear me talking, they just come. But you can see, you guys, the live event Q&A, and you can look at publishing it or dismissing it, depending on what you need to do. Up at the top bar here, you can see the number of attendees that are in the meeting. So right now we've got 56. That's awesome. Thank you guys for bearing with me when I'm using up your time. Only producers can see that. You can see how long. I usually start a live event 30 minutes before it actually starts, just to run through everything and make sure, hopefully, I seem prepared, so that it goes as smoothly as possible. So that's a good rule of thumb too, and that's in one of those guides to let you know to try to do that in advance. And let's see, I haven't seen any other questions come in, but we'll go ahead and show you. So the live event Q&A, you can determine, like I said, going from tab to tab, you can determine what you want to publish, what you want to dismiss. So if there was something that's technical, like Deborah here wrote in, then we could just dismiss that because it may not be applicable to the entire audience. So it's not really necessary for everyone to see that in the comment box. And then you can see all of the published comments, and you can see, people's responses and that sort of thing in this published, and then the amount that were dismissed go over here. I'm going to show y'all real quick too the internal chat. So this is just a way that, oops, I can't type and talk. There y'all, I did it. That is what I was telling you. That is only seen by the people that are listed as producers or presenters. So those people that are on your production crew would have access to that. So it's a great way to communicate back and forth with each other when you're in the middle of an event. If you need to remind somebody to unmute themselves, that's the way you would want to do it. The producer has the power to mute everybody, but does not have the power to unmute anybody. So that's just kind of a good rule of thumb, is to make sure your presenters know that they need to unmute themselves. So on the side, you can just see who all is here behind the scenes running the meeting, helping me out today. So that's the people that are just the internal and the production crew that would have access then to that internal chat. And if you'll see for us, that blue little dot just lit up, which means that we have another question. So let's go and see if I can get over there. I can just click the side of my laptop. Let's see. I'm trying. Okay. Dennis, how do you share your screen? So it'd be the same thing if you have your video going here. So again, sorry, you're going to see let's see, you get to see the back of my head. So here I am in the queue. and a million times over in the live event, actual live event. So you would just, if you're sharing anything, any video, any person's video, they do have to have video on this bottom panel where you can see all of the participants. You have to have a video on in order to share it. And if you're sharing somebody's screen, they would just select that they're sharing this. It would say share instead of stop share. I've taken over the presentation. So it would say share down here, and you could click then on their content. You would click here first, then click on the content, okay, and then send it live. That's how you share. If they have their video going, that's how you would share their screen. Let me stop and see if we can clean that up a little bit. Okay. Okay, let me see. I know we've got a few other questions. Daniela says, if I understand correctly, you're working from a PC and a laptop at the same time. Yes, I have 4 screens in front of me, 5 if you include my phone where I'm also receiving messages. It's just the master of multitasking, right? So would that slow your internet speed? And if yes, how do you manage? Well, it does slow my internet speed. And like I said, I've made sure nobody else is on the internet right now. My kids are outside just wandering around the patio. I can see them through my window. And I did get a new modem and new internet so that I could make sure that I have the bandwidth for these. We've got 54 attendees right now. So it's not as big as if you're having like 1,000 people. You'd want to have a higher bandwidth than, oh, here comes a child. Everybody, my son. So I told you, you can't keep them locked down. I did, in fairness, tell them to stay out until 2:30. So sorry for that debut. And then Daniela, you asked, can you see my question? Yes, I'm just sorry. I'm multitasking, so I just didn't see it when you first mentioned it. Okay. So that, I know I've kept y'all way over, and I sincerely apologize for doing that. I don't like to do that in my presentations. I really do hope that this was helpful to you all. I hope that this could be useful information. Cynthia, if you're able to pull up my final slides, do you mind doing that real quick? You've been just amazing. I have just a few last points, and I did want to invite you. I've got a Teams meeting right after this. If you would like to have some live interaction and Q&A, then we can do that. And I'm going to send this. Let's see here. I'm going to send this in the chat too. So I know you all have other things to do, and I'm so sorry for taking the additional time. This was my first time running through the entire presentation, and it took a little bit longer with the Q&A added. So I am going to make myself available after this session. Melinda, I'm going to ask if you could go ahead and jump on that Teams meeting and leave the live session so that way we can get that started. I just posted that link in the comments. So I'm going to end this session. Y'all have been amazing. Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can. Cynthia's trying to pull up my slides, but I'm going to do it real quick and pull those up. Okay. I just wanted to share with y'all too. We do different events, different sessions. We share a lot of content, and if there's anything else that like these events that you would like to participate in, that you would like that information about, then please do connect with us on social media. It's a great resource for you to know kind of what's going on in OIT and the way that we're here to help and to support you. So it's all UTD Infotech on whatever platform you want to find me on. You can find me there, but I'll try to make sure we're sharing different tips and different features, as well as those things that keep coming out in Teams. You're going to have access to them there. And finally, just so you know, if you have questions or need clarifications or you want help with a Teams live event, I by no means am perfect or an expert on this, but I am willing to help you and to share my knowledge. And I love for those of you that have reached out to me too and have shared your tips and practices. So assist@utdallas.edu if you need to open up a ticket. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I again apologize for keeping y'all over. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention. I'll jump on the Teams meeting for anybody else that just wants to talk. Thank you all.